Muy contentos, tenemos un alto nivel de participación y de interés. Este es el octavo webinar del CICLOTIIC que se ha iniciado este año. Simplemente una breve introducción para todos aquellos que no conozcan de la iniciativa. La Cámara viene trabajando en torno al eje innovación ya hace un par de años. Hemos llevado adelante una serie de convocatorias para que a través del ecosistema emprendedor que existe en la Argentina podamos impulsar y acelerar el proceso de innovación en la industria, y a partir de este año hemos iniciado, luego de la experiencia TIC, que se realizó el año pasado en la Usina del Arte, en la ciudad de Buenos Aires. A partir de este año hemos empezado este ciclo de webinars, de los cuales esta es la tercera serie. Tenemos una serie en donde ustedes tienen la posibilidad de justamente ir conociendo ese mundo de nuevos emprendimientos que se acercan a la industria, el ciclo de nuevas tecnologías, en donde nosotros podemos compartir con empresas que incorporan nuevas tecnologías a la industria e incrementan por esa vía la productividad y la competitividad. Y el tercer ciclo, que es el internacional, del cual hoy estamos teniendo la segunda experiencia. La primera fue con Chile, y pueden acceder a ella a través de YouTube y de la página de la Cámara en la parte referida a TIC. Y esta es la segunda, que tenemos la oportunidad de interactuar y de intercambiar saberes y conocer más de la experiencia de un país que en esto de las nuevas tecnologías transversales, en particular todo lo que tiene que ver con las tecnologías 4.0, es claramente una referencia a nivel mundial, como es Israel. Lo que vamos a hacer es, a continuación, voy a pasar a introducirles quiénes van a estar compartiendo con nosotros el panel, y después vamos a dar comienzo. Bueno, antes que nada, dar la bienvenida a la gente de Israel. Vamos a estar presentes con Raúl Rugo, que es el presidente de la Asociación de Constructores de Israel, y con ZACHI FLATTO, que es el CEO de CONTECH. Ahora más adelante en la presentación ustedes van a saber qué es CONTECH. Y de parte nuestra de las cámaras, le darle la bienvenida a nuestro presidente Iván Sech y a Fernando Lago, nuestro gerente general. Iván, si te parece, iniciar con unas palabras de bienvenida y de marco de por qué para nosotros como Cámara resulta tan interesante este evento.
Muchísimas gracias, Hernán. Excelente la introducción en cuanto a cuál viene siendo el camino que venimos recorriendo dentro de la Cámara Argentina de la Construcción en la búsqueda de generar mayor conocimiento y mejores tecnologías a una industria que tanto lo necesita, que ha sido de las más postergadas en términos básicamente de cambios en cuanto a la forma de construir, ¿no es cierto? Entonces, dicho esto, agradecer sobre todo a Raúl, que dicho sea de paso es argentino, ¿no? Y es presidente de la Asociación de Constructores Israelíes, y también a Zaki, que básicamente nos va a contar la experiencia que tienen en Israel, ese hub que han construido liderando básicamente estas tecnologías a nivel mundial. Así que para nosotros es un placer, un enorme placer contar con ambos. Y la verdad que celebrar que hay 123 participantes en este Zoom, que básicamente lo que nos está demostrando es que queremos avanzar, queremos aprender, queremos ser más eficientes. Nosotros ponemos nuestro granito de arena como lo tenemos que hacer como dirigentes empresariales, ¿no es cierto? La Cámara está muy comprometida con este eje justamente de formación de todos los profesionales y de nuestras empresas constructoras, así que desde ya bienvenidos todos los que están participando, y en especial, bueno, Raúl y Zaki, que han tenido la grandeza de compartir con nosotros sus experiencias. Así que muchísimas gracias.
Okay.
Raúl, bienvenido. Si querés brindarnos unas palabras.
Bueno, hola para todos. Voy a empezar en español y después voy a hablar un poco en inglés. Yo soy argentino, nací en la Argentina. Vine a Israel cuando tenía 3 años y mi mamá siempre me hablaba en castellano, entonces tengo poco la idioma. No tengo el idioma profesional, entonces voy a hablar en inglés. Pero de acá, el primer cosa, los felicito a ustedes. Espero que todos están en bien salud. Yo escuché que en Buenos Aires la situación no es tan bien, también acá como todo el mundo. Ahora experimentamos la segunda ola en Israel. No es fácil, es difícil. Y acá hablan para hacer, como no sé la palabra en castellano, quarantine everybody. Nos van a cerrar. Tenemos ahora las fiestas del Año Nuevo de los judíos y nos van a cerrar acá en Israel, pero tenemos que ser fuertes también en nuestro país y también en Argentina para pasar esa epidemia. I will speak in English now, I'm sorry. This is the best way to speak and to give you the message that I want to give you from here, from Israel. You know that the Empire State Building was built in 1930 in the United States, in New York. And you know how long it take to build it? Only 14 months. Only 14 months to build a building 90 years ago. It's amazing, but the technology in construction is not so good enough as in other fields in life. So that's why in Israel here, as a startup nation, we decided in our chamber to establish this project of hub of construction and technology. We have support from the government, support of the Ministry of Treasury and Ministry of Economics, and so far we have support like something like 220 startups in the fields of construction and all kind of work in construction. It can be on management, it can be on safety, it can be on patents and robotics in the construction itself. For example, we have one of the startup. It's self-operate of a crane. You know, a crane, it works like robot. You give him the order as he know to move and to see obstacles in the way in a matter that is shorter time than a human operator that's sitting on the crane. And this is something that will be really a breakthrough in this field. And it is now in a very progress stage. Maybe Zachi will speak about it. So we have a proof of concept, and this is will be the future. Like in cars that we have mobile without drivers, it will be also on cranes. This is one example of the project that we are managing. So technology is the future, and I'm sure that in construction it can be done and achieve a lot of achievement in order that the process of construction will be easier and faster, and the product for our clients, those people who buy our apartments and using our work in construction, it will be much, much better. I wish for you a good seminar now in the Zoom. Very nice to see you. In some way or another, I could be with you now. Maybe the president, maybe not, I don't know, but I could be Argentinian constructor if I would have stayed in Argentina. And okay, I will let Zachi maybe to speak. I really, really glad to see you, to see everybody, to see you again maybe in the future. Big hug for Fernando. Where are you, Fernando? I don't see you. You are here?
Yes, he's...
Lago is here. Okay, we've met each other in Paris. So really big hug for you. And
thank you, Raul. I lost my connection of the camera. Now I can hear you, but you don't see me. Glad to see you again. Gracias por el aporte. Gracias por esta contribución.
Muchas gracias para todos. Espero que verte acá en Israel. Yo a veces, así tengo familia en Buenos Aires, entonces a veces cada cuantos años llego allá. Y for sure, Fernando, I will see you in Buenos Aires when I will be there in the next time.
Oh, con todo gusto, te esperamos aquí con todo gusto.
Okay, thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Raúl. También agregar que está Itzik Gurbich, que es del Departamento de Economía e Impuestos de la Asociación Argentina de Constructores Israelíes, perdón, Asociación de Constructores Israelíes. El hecho de que voy a pasar a hablar inmediatamente en inglés ya está atravesándome. Bueno, si les parece bien, vamos a comenzar, con lo cual a partir de ahora, quienes me están escuchando en español, por si no hicieron todavía el pasaje al canal en inglés y necesitan traducción, pueden hacerlo. A partir de ahora paso directamente al inglés. Zachi, again, thank you for staying with us. And in order to start with the purpose of the webinar, could you introduce us to CONTECH, please?
Yes, so good morning. Here it's already afternoon. First of all, thank you, Raul, for introducing us. Thank you, Ivan, Fernando, Hernan, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I'm super excited. It's the first time that I'm speaking to Argentinian professionals. I heard a lot about the construction industry in Argentina. We had a small discussion a few minutes ago. It's much larger than the Israeli one. Well, I'll speak a bit about the Israeli one, but I will start by, let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, perfect.
Sí.
So I would like to start by taking you into a small journey of the Israeli automotive industry, historical journey, not with construction, but let's start with automotive. So probably the Israeli part of the audience is familiar with this car. This is a car made in Israel back in the 50s of the last century. It's called Susita. It was made of fiberglass, and that was the flagship of our industry, the Israeli automotive industry 70 years ago, 60 years ago. I still remember these cars going in the streets of Tel Aviv, even 30 years ago. If we're jumping like 60 years ahead, that's a company called Mobileye, Raul mentioned. That's a company doing autonomous driving technology. It was acquired by Intel for $15 billion. That's, I think it's the biggest acquisition that was made in the Israeli high tech. That was done 3 years ago. And the interesting thing is that it's today, obviously, it's the flagship of our industry, but it's not the only one. We have above 700 Israeli startups dealing with automotive, smart mobility, acquisition keeps on going. Like just a few weeks ago, a company called Move It, which is doing a public transportation app, was also acquired by Intel. Waze, which is doing navigation, crowdsourcing navigation, was acquired by Google a few years ago. And if you come to Israel in the summer, there's a big happening of Israeli automotive technology where you can see the CEO of Volkswagen, of BMW, of the Japanese industry. They are all here coming to acquire new technologies, opening R&D centers, opening innovation hub. This is exactly the process that we want to see in construction tech. That's our lighthouse. This is where we want to head in construction tech. And this is our vision. We want to turn Israel into a central hub for construction tech. So we've started CONTECH nearly 4 years ago, beginning of 2017. And that happened because the representatives of the industry, the association, the Israeli Association of Builders, understood the need to support technology, the need for the technology. This is not nice to have. We need that technology. The industry is highly conservative. You're all familiar with the big pains. The interesting thing with CONTECH is that it's a special cooperation between the private sector, builders, and the government, Ministry of Economy and Ministry of Housing and Construction, where each side of this cooperation is bringing its own point of view to the cooperation. So the builders are bringing the field point of view, the on-site, the pains of the industry. The Ministry of Construction is dealing a lot with the regulatory aspects and the government point of view. And the Ministry of Economy brings another interesting point of view of how to build these technological ecosystems. So the government in Israel is supporting technology a lot by funding the technology and by doing a lot of different programs that supports technology. And in our case, it is specializing in construction tech. Just to give you a few figures about the industry in Israel. So it's about $25 billion, probably quite small comparing to Argentina, but still, it's about 10% of the GNP. We have any type of project you can imagine yourself. Ministry of Defense is it's the largest developer in Israel. Any type of project you can imagine yourself. Harbors, marines, airports, fence, new camps, any type of project, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of foreign companies operating in Israel. Right now, a Chinese company is building the light rail in Tel Aviv. The reason that I'm showing this slide is that the Israeli startups has a lot of opportunities to work in Israel and to test their technologies. Obviously, this is just the beginning for them, and they all look to go global and not just staying in Israel, because it's not a big enough market for startups. So they are all looking to go global, and obviously they go to the States, they go to Europe, they go a bit to Southeast Asia, and we're looking to open also the Argentinian and the South America's market for them. So just to understand, what are we doing? So first thing is building this ecosystem of startups, what we call the Israeli high tech, the industry, which are the general contractors, the developers, and some other industry players, the investors, and the government. So how do you connect these entities which has a lot of, there's a big gap between technology and construction tech. So one of the ways of doing that is a lot of industry events like meetups, roundtables, demo days, hackathons. Just to give you an example, we had a hackathon beginning of this year with a cement company called Lafarge Holcim. That's a French-based company, and some other industry players. Our challenge was dealing with safety issues. It was an exciting event. Then we had a session, or the first international construction tech event in Israel at the end of February. So we had on board companies such as Vinci, the French contractors, Cemex, the Mexican-based cement providers, Deutsche Bahn, the German railway company, Laticrate from the States, and some others. So it was a big festival of construction tech, evening of Corona. We had a big luck to have this event, and it was a successful one. Now, second thing, or second pillar of our activity is the incubation program. We believe that this is one of the most important things that we're doing. We're working with several startups once a year. We're just about to start the fourth batch with two main targets in this incubation program. The first one is a product market fit process. And this is highly important because, as I said before, the gap between the tech guys, these are guys that came out of the technological units in the Israeli army, and the industry is big, is huge. And you have to help them in getting into the industry. Eventually, we want to make these partnerships between the industry, general contractors, material providers, and the startups, and bringing the startups to a point where they can make a mutual project with the industry. Second target in this incubation is helping these startups get funded. It's either by regular VCs, venture capitals, corporate VCs, Israeli government, again, Innovation Authority. To give you an idea, we initiated a special program with the government, with the Innovation Authority, which fund pilot projects of the startups together with the industry. And third thing that we're doing is cooperation with industry partners. And in general, we're dividing the market into 5 segments, starting with general contractors and developers. I mentioned Vinci, Vinci, the French company. Software vendors that works for the construction industry. So a good example is Autodesk. We're working closely with Autodesk. Their R&D center is like 200 meters from the offices of the association. They developed their one of the main products in Tel Aviv. That's the BIM 360. I'm sure a lot of people here are familiar with that product. So working closely with them. The materials and building method providers. So I mentioned Cemex. We had in our event also Umdash, the owners of DOCA, for instance, and some others. Machinery companies, so the Caterpillars of the world, the Black & Deckers of the world. We're working closely with Hilti, the Swiss company. We help them to get into Israel. And the fifth sector is utilities and infrastructure. I've mentioned Deutsche Bahn, the German railway company, as well as Innogy, that's a German energy company which operates in Tel Aviv. They have an innovation hub in Tel Aviv, and they have a corporate VC as well. They made a couple of interesting investments in our ecosystem. So that gives you a frame for the segments that we're working with. Now, I want to give you a couple of examples to Israeli startups. Obviously, you know, it's just an example. You can see a lot of data in our website. And maybe we'll start with this landscape map. Actually, I'm showing you the last year map, where in this coming weekend, we'll publish a new map, a completely new map. And it's nearly 180 startups in that map. So just think about the growth in numbers. When we've started CONTECH, there were about maybe 10, 20 startups. Today, 180. And as I said, you can see them in our mapping, in our website by the end of this weekend. So just to give you a general idea, companies in the area of planning and design. I'll give a couple of examples in a minute. Companies dealing with on-site execution. So Raul mentioned Insight. I'm going to show Insight in details in a few minutes. Different AR, VR technologies, technologies for monitoring, technologies for inspection. Companies that are doing inspections for bridges, for instance, inspection for roads, and others. Safety. So safety is a major issue in our industry. You're all familiar with that. I've mentioned that we're running the working group within the ICB. So safety is a big focus of CONTECH and obviously of the association. Now, inspection and as-built monitoring, so that became a major vertical in the Israeli technologies. Companies such as BuildDots, that's an interesting company, just raised $10 million from Israeli and foreign investors. Companies such as Construction and some others. So these guys are, in general, taking videos, pictures of the site and analyze what's going on within the job site from inside and from outside, from the air and from ground. Companies dealing with materials and building methods. Different, for instance, company dealing with marine-friendly concrete for marine usage. That's already a mature company called eConcrete, and some others. Project management, obviously, that's a major issue. Different companies dealing with budget control, with scheduling, and some others, combination of budget and scheduling, which is very challenging. Now on the lower side of the map, you see what we call more of the Proptech side of that map. So property and infrastructure management, just for instance, company doing windows cleaning, facades cleaning using robotic arms. Just imagine yourself, this is working. It's not a, it's not a dream, it's already working. You can see that machine in Tel Aviv already in high rises. By the way, these guys are already working with the Emirates, with the United Emirates. So you're probably familiar with it. We had we're going through a peace process now with the United Emirates, and there's some Israeli companies that are already working over there. Companies dealing with insurance and securities for real estate, different marketing solutions, all these AR, VR solutions, and these different image processing, different financing platforms, marketplaces, both for assets and for services during the construction process, and location-based services. So companies that are dealing with indoor location, which is highly challenging. So I want to drill further into specific companies. That's an interesting company called Okibo, and their target is to replace human labor and high cost of materials. Their solution is based on AI, computer vision, robotics, a lot of sensors. And let's see a short video of this company, Okibo. So this is real. It's not science fiction. It's working. I've seen that. It's a real movie. And these guys were working with these guys already for 2 years. This is highly complex to analyze the surfaces, to analyze the job site, and to apply the plaster and the colors. But it's working. It truly works. And by the way, the investors in this company are 2 contractors from the association. 2 of the founders, the co-founders of CONTECH. Now, moving to a different stage of the project, and that's the planning. Company called SWAP. So they're specializing in planning of commercial spaces. The pain is well known, it's slow, expensive, each time the tenant is replaced, you need to demolish the office and to build it from the beginning. The core technology here is a lot of AI, big data, starting from a lot of history, data sets of historical plans, and they simply doing an automated planning process using a lot of existing modules, prefab, optimization, and sustainability. So in this video, you can see an empty space being designed, including all the infrastructure. And you can see how it's optimized, you know, with water, with sprinklers, with electricity, air condition, and the separation, the creation of the planning is being done using existing modules. And the nice thing in here is that you see, let me running from the beginning, you can see how you get two different, completely different designs using the same infrastructure, you know, the same air condition, the same sprinklers, everything is the same, but different, and the same modules, but completely different office using the same materials. So when the tenant is replaced, you just taking off the existing modules and repositioning them. So this is a interesting technology. Now jumping to the next technology, that's coming from a company called Kenko Technology. These guys are working mainly in Japan. They're working with one of the largest asset management companies in Tokyo, managing over 2 million square meters. And the pain that they are solving is the lack of method that can measure the quality of design. You know, you have an office, you're getting an architect to design that office, but you never know if that's a good, or you will not know if that's a good plan or a bad plan just after your tenants will be there. And they, you know, you speak to them and they say, hey, this is good or it's bad. So basically what they are doing, they're collecting data from the tenants, from the residents, the people that work there before planning, using bracelets, using smart bracelets, and they translate the physical parameters into feelings, into how people feel about the space, about their office. So in here you can see a thematic map of how people feels within the space. So obviously red is bad, nervous, tense, and green is happy. According to this emotional heat map, they make recommendation for the planet, for the architects, and they design it according to these recommendations. Now, after they refurnished the office, they can check again using the same bracelets, so they can compare before the process and after, and they can show the effectiveness of that process. By the way, we see that trend coming more and more in order to evaluate how people feel regarding design, regarding different processes. Some companies are using a real EEG, using helmets and the EEG waves analyzing the brain waves in order to understand how people feel to certain things. And I think we'll see that more and more happening in the design process. Next company comes from a completely different area. That's a company called Civ Drone. The pain that these guys are solving is actually the marking. So you know, you need to mark a road or a wayway using these pins. Today, it's being done manually, completely manually by surveyors going with a hammer and with these pins, putting the pins into the ground. A lot of mistakes. Contractors lose, in a lot of cases, a lot of money from these mistakes. Again, technology in here is AI and computer vision. And they, one of our alumni from the second batch, we're really proud of these guys. So just to give you an idea how this technology looks like. This is not a dream. It's a working technology. I've seen that happening in real life. Still a prototype, but they are piloting their technology with some Israeli contractors like Shikun and Binui. I think they're also piloting their technologies, as far as I remember, somewhere in South America for a solar panel field. A large solar panel, so there's a big challenge of marking these huge areas, and you know, with drone, it's being done like that. It's much easier. Next company, we're jumping back into the job site buildings. Company called Genda. The pain is the ability to track the employees, understand where your teams are, what are they doing, what they have done. Today, it's hard to track them. You know, the project managers in the audience are familiar with that issue. Another challenge that they handling during the last 6 months is the COVID-19. So they're also handling the social distancing issue. They're doing that by an application which tracks the location of the employees, including internal location within the floor, different floors. So there's a combination of interesting technologies. Again, alumni of our last batch, the third batch. So let's have a look on their video.
The construction site is complex. Due to lack of data, site managers spend hours a day understanding project status, making decisions based on gut feelings, instead of taking care of quality and safety issues. With Genda, site managers can make data-driven decisions to have better control over resources and monitor project progress. Using several data streams from designated sensors and smartphones application, Genda's platform automatically generates real-time project data. Safety accidents are prevented. And quality can be assured before it's too late. Genda, generating data, eliminating waste, ensuring safety.
Yeah, so these are Genda. Again, we're working closely with these guys. I was working with the entrepreneur straight from the beginning. It's a civil engineer. We see more and more industry people are getting into the construction tech business. So he's a civil engineer, a bachelor of the Technion. That's Israeli MIT, and I was working with him when he was still a master student. So we're trying to get to these entrepreneurs straight from the beginning, and it's a good opportunity to say also that we're working closely with academia, with the different universities, in order to create curiosity and awareness among these students. We find that highly important. Now, company called Datamate, we're going back to the field, to infrastructure. Let's jump straight to their video. Again, one of our alumni, specializing in infrastructure. We've done a good process with them with Deutsche Bahn, the German railway company, and now they're working in Germany in several projects. So let's have a look on their video.
DataBIM is taking construction infrastructure management to the next level. With daily field data analytics for more accurate BIM modeling, project planning, and progress tracking. Daily drone surveying and mapping allows for accurate and frequent as-built comparisons of design plans that ease management and control of large construction projects and keep surveyors safe. Cloud-based operation enables infrastructure construction managers to access stored projects and track progress wherever they are. DataBIM dashboards, reports, alerts, and accurate forecasts, as well as vectorized measurements and CAD outputs, help project managers make real-time informed decisions to minimize delays and save significant costs. Datamate's DataBIM, field analytics for on-schedule and on-budget construction infrastructure projects.
By the way, we see more and more companies getting into infrastructure. We've opened a new section for that in our map for startups dealing with infrastructure. We've seen two. Surprisingly enough, I'm a big fan of infrastructure technologies. I'm a civil engineer specializing in road planning, so that's my DNA. And there's a huge potential over there. Now that's the company Raul spoke about, Insight, dealing with autonomous cranes, tower cranes. So the pain is obvious. The tower crane is the bottleneck in every job site. Expensive, risky, inefficient. And that's a good point to start with. Let's have a look on their video.
In work sites around the world, a new kind of intelligence is at site, powered by AI and deep learning. It is breaking down old boundaries, cutting through bottlenecks, enabling traditional global industries to work more intelligently, making construction of our cities safer, ensuring sustainable agriculture and food security, allowing supply chains to flow seamlessly, making sure the world's precious resources are extracted efficiently and reaching their destinations with optimal efficiency. It takes vision to leverage a blue ocean, unleashing untold efficiencies and new opportunities for growth. But the benefits are vast. The time has come for traditional industries to be powered by pure insight. Don't miss out. Join Insight.
Yeah, so these guys are doing a great job. Also in here, two brothers. One of them is a civil engineer, technician, and the other one is a missile expert. So that's a good. Yeah. Basically, we're getting to the end of the presentation. I'll be happy to take questions. Hernan?
Yeah, Zachi. Well, first of all, thank you for this science fiction trip for us. Even though you told us that it's not, I think that for most of us, it has been a kind of science fiction trip. So before letting our audience taking the questions, for all of you, if you have any question, we will use the chat to pick them and to translate to Zachi. We will take a couple of more minutes, maybe between 15 and 20 minutes for those who have the opportunity. It's a bit longer than usual, but I think that it's worth it. So while we wait for those inquiries, and knowing that, well, now because it's 12, the number is going down, but up to now we were having more than 150 people. So we were having constructors, entrepreneurs, even people from the public sector. So maybe 2 or 3 questions, and then let the audience
Hernan,
yeah,
if I may, there is another person that is from our association, Incubation, which is also Argentinian. He will speak with you in Spanish, and I want to introduce him. Was the CFO of the association, and now he's in another position. So he will introduce himself, few words only about his activity. Itzik.
Buen día para todos. Yo también soy de Argentina. Soy el vicedirector de la Organización de la Construcción de Israel. Vengo de Argentina, de la ciudad más linda de Argentina, de Córdoba, que nadie se ofenda. Bueno, lo que sí queríamos comentar, que estamos pasando en la construcción, estamos pasando una época muy especial porque a pesar de que hubo paros de la mayor parte de los sectores de las empresas en Argentina, conseguimos que la empresa de la construcción siga trabajando con limitaciones, a pesar de las limitaciones del coronavirus. Tenemos trabajadores que vienen del exterior, tenemos trabajadores que vienen de los territorios palestinos, y tenemos trabajadores de Israel, y la forma que conseguimos esta autorización del gobierno para poder seguir trabajando es, primero que presentamos lo importante que es esta empresa, que la empresa de la construcción o el sector de la construcción para la economía del país, y segundo, implementamos sistemas que nos permite seguir trabajando como lo que acá le llamamos cápsulas, o sea que tenemos a los trabajadores ordenados en grupos que no se cambian, y de esa forma le permitimos llegar al trabajo, salir del trabajo, controlamos todo el tiempo si están bien de salud o no. Es una época muy interesante para este sector, para la construcción. Conseguimos mantener la empresa, todas estas empresas de construcción, pero no es fácil. Hay mucho bajo de demanda para de departamentos. Pienso de que estamos manteniendo una actividad del 60% de lo que hacíamos antes de coronavirus. Si van a necesitar algún soporte o algún advice, cómo mantener estos trabajos o cómo implementamos todo esto, si van a necesitar algunas soluciones, pueden conectarse con nosotros y por supuesto se lo vamos a dar. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Itzik, y creo que además agregaste un elemento, ¿no? Digamos, ahí más de cooperación, como mencionaba Iván y Raúl al principio de la conversación. Creo que es algo muy interesante que probablemente podamos profundizar luego a partir de un par de intercambios. No sé, Iván, si querés alguna referencia al respecto o si avanzamos con un par de inquietudes, como vos digas.
Sí, primero agradezco desde ya la posibilidad de intercambiar experiencias e información, sobre todo en cómo estamos trabajando nosotros en Argentina y ustedes en Israel. Me parece muy productivo. Nada más contarles que nosotros como industria, acá se declaró básicamente la cuarentena el 20 de marzo, nosotros como industria y en colaboración en una asociación estratégica que tenemos con los trabajadores de la industria de la construcción, con el gremio de la UOCRA, acá en Argentina, desarrollamos el primer protocolo sectorial de trabajo dentro de lo que era el COVID. Lo presentamos el 10 de abril y en función de ese protocolo pudimos ir logrando la apertura del trabajo en obras en diferentes provincias. Más allá de que hoy lo naturalizamos, fue un paso clave adelante en aquel momento que permitió que la industria se pudiera poner en movimiento nuevamente, dar una herramienta excelente porque ha mostrado muy buenos resultados dentro de la obra. Por supuesto que hay situaciones que no son manejables, que ocurren fuera de la obra, pero también detectamos las situaciones preventivamente, en la gran mayoría de los casos, y tenemos estadísticas que así lo demuestran y nos ayudan a seguir aperturando la industria a nivel nacional. Pero desde ya intercambiemos información con respecto a los protocolos de trabajo, que entiendo que serán complementarios y podrán sumar en ambos lados. Así que desde ya muy agradecido.
Haciendo un...
No quiero poner en duda lo único que dijiste de la ciudad más linda de Argentina, pero bueno.
I will move again to English, for Zachi to be able to follow. So even making a bridge between what Itzik was saying, the Argentinian Association made a call for ideas and startups to suggest solutions for COVID, and some of them were introduced to our companies. Some of them related to a couple of ideas that Zachi mentioned, but just a couple of questions, maybe Zachi or Raúl or Itzik, as you prefer. So first of all, first an observation from the Argentinian point of view, and considering our experience in this field, I was interested to acknowledge and to see that the technologies that you are using, robotics, artificial intelligence, not only for data, but also for emotional data, that's something really new in a way. And well, I was thinking here, that shows us that we are mainly developing a new business, mainly around the technologies that you mentioned at the end, smartphones, apps, but we are still a bit delayed in maybe in developments related to robotics and to computer vision and whatever. So that is a reflection in the sense that that maybe has to do with the fact of the technological base that Israel has, and as well as Zachi was referring to the automotive industry. You are now using it also for the construction industry, like technologies that are transforming the whole universe of activities. And then two questions mainly related and from the constructor point of view. The first one is, why do you think that constructors invest in these startups? What are they looking for? So that's the first one. And the second one, from the adopting point of view, what are the skills, the different skills that contractor needs to adopt these technologies? Are the usual labor force, and I'm not only referring to the labor force that work on site, but also the managerial, the management and the engineers and so on, are the same skills, or that also demands new skills from our workers?
I will try to answer, Zachi, for the first question, why contractors should invest on technology. I think it's obvious because we are a businessman and we know that as long as we make the technology more advanced in our business, it will lower our cost and lower our depend on human sources. For example, we have now this Corona. Everybody is working from their house. All the lawyers and other fields of service are working from house, from the computer in the house. We cannot construct from the house. So as long as we are depending on human source, it will be difficult to advance also the productivity and also the timetable of to finish a project. So it's obvious that the technology will advance us to another stage. Now, as any business that we are making, as long as we pay money to something that will reduce our cost in the future, it's a good thing to do. Because I tell you, I give you an example. Now I finished to build a hotel in the Lake of Galilee. I don't know if you know, the north of Israel. So there I'm using high-tense electricity from the electricity company, and I pay less because I manufactured myself the electricity in the hotel. So after 2 years, I get back what I invest. So the contractor are investing, and also our association is invest on this hub and in future technology to advance the technology and to make our lives and our costs and our project much better. Zachi?
Yeah, I think what Toad just mentioned about people working from home, that's an important point, because yeah, you cannot pour concrete from home yet, but we've seen a lot of change by people moving more to digital. People that previously wouldn't think about, doing that. So suddenly you can make a planning meeting in Zoom instead of bringing all these people to the site, and just to coordinate these meetings with 15, 20 people takes 2 working days for secretaries, and suddenly you make that on Zoom. Everybody's sitting in their offices or at their homes, and we hear from contractors that a lot of the stuff is suddenly being done through WhatsApp. So they get updated plans on WhatsApp instead of sending them to the job site, and suddenly you can make the same planning meeting through Zoom in 40 minutes, because most of the people don't pay for the Zoom, so it just cut after 40 minutes. So you study how to make an efficient meeting just in 40 minutes. So that's life. So people are moving more and more to digital. Also in construction, I think we had and we hear that from many people, like globally. The industry, I think, made a significant jump in this crisis. And this is part of the answer to your second questions. You can't change the existing people, okay? You can't replace them. They have a vast experience. They're working on on the job sites, you can't replace them. You have to work with them. So I think the first, and that's my philosophy. You have to adopt yourself to the field, and not vice versa, and not the opposite. So you create simple tools that can serve the existing people, but at the same time, you create technology that will replace human labor, and you create like technologies for the long future. So it's, you know, it's divided. I divide the industry into 3 levels of technology. The first one is technology that you can use tomorrow morning. It's already exists, and we have a lot of, not a lot, but I think maybe 25% of the solutions are these kind of solutions. And then you have solutions that are that will take maybe a year to develop. So you'll be able to use them in 1, 2, or 2 years. They already have working prototypes. So for instance, that solution with the drones marking, Civ Drone, that's that type of solution. It's already working. It's not in production, but it will work commercially in a year. And then you have like the big dreams, like that autonomous tower crane. You won't see that cranes in 2 years. Just to make it clear, it's not that you're going Tel Aviv out, you'll see a lot of autonomous cranes. That's not, unfortunately, it's not the situation. But it will be like that, like maybe 10 years. And then you'll need like different people in order to operate that. So you need like more technological people, and I think we should prepare with that. We should make the next generation of engineers and tech people that will operate the next stage of job site, the future job site.
Thank you to both of you. While I remind of the opportunity to send questions through the chat, you are not only investing to adopt the new technologies, but companies are also investing to develop new companies. That's something that unless, at least in our industry, is not happening so widely up to now. So, oh, sorry, yeah, somebody that maybe opened the microphone. So what would you say for our companies in the sense of not only taking the risk to adopt new technologies and to make the investment for that, but also to invest like more in a capital venture style in order to promote new startups? Yeah, Zachi, you mentioned that some of these startups were funded by constructors. So what could you tell us about that?
So we see both tracks, like contractors investing directly into the startups, and I I'm going back to automotive, like 21 years ago. I heard that story. I heard that story from the co-founder of Mobileye. So that guy back in the end of the 90s was looking for capital, and he went through the avenue, Rothschild Avenue, where all the VCs are located. Also, our offices are pretty near to that avenue, and nobody wants to give him money. No one. But he got the money from the industry, from two of the largest representatives of Daimler, of Mercedes. So they made the first investment in his company, and they made a good exit. Like each one of them made around $1 billion in the exit, because they understood back then, when all the VCs didn't understood why investing in cars technology. sound stupid back then, but they understood. So as Raul said, they understand the pains, they see the future. Then you see contractors investing also in VCs connected to construction. It's already happening in Israel as well. There's a cooperation between the largest contractor in Israel and the Innovation Authority. So they put together an innovation lab, which is actually a fund which invests in startups. It's an interesting initiative, and globally you see these specialized VCs in construction tech, such as Brick and Mortar in California, which is owned by the Bechtels, the family, the Bechtel family, and Fifth Wall, and some others. So they back, their LPs are large developers, large GCs, and then you see the corporate VCs directly, which use the capital of the company itself. They invest directly from the balance sheet. So just recently, a Japanese GC called Shinzu just announced a corporate VC of $100 million, not a huge one. So they're looking for investments, and that's directly from the balance sheet. So that three type of investments.
I will add something, Hernan, that my late father, he taught me that all the time, do what you are doing well, what you know well. So don't do things that you don't know anything about it. So I believe this in business, because we as contractors, we know the needs of the technology. We know all what the technology can do and what is the potential, the commercial potential about the solution. So it is obvious that we must do and invest. If I have to invest in startup, I prefer to invest in startup which I know very good what is the potential of the success. So this is the first thing. The other thing is that big companies here in Israel invest in technology because they have the culture, the culture of technology, the culture of advanced technology. It's something that is inside the company. So it's part of the culture of the organization. So this is the second why big companies in Israel, big infrastructure companies and construction companies, putting some money on this to improve safety, to improve the way of the system are working. So this is the second reason.
Thank you, Raul and Zachi. Well, here we are having 3 questions. Maybe we can split them, because we will just take 12 more minutes until 12:30. So I don't know if any of you are able to read them. One of them, and a couple of them are in English. Itzik, maybe you can read it in Spanish. One of them is for you. And I will translate the one from Sylvia, that she's asking which type of technology are you using in order to measure the quality of works in general, not only public works, and to reassure quality. So I don't know who of you want to kick off this set of questions and the set of answers. Maybe Itzik, you want to start? Okay, maybe Zachi, maybe the one that asked Ezekiel.
I will address the question of Sylvia. So the way technology address this issue is, in most of the cases, by doing first of all taking videos or pictures of the job site from inside, using different cameras like GoPros installed on the helmets of the inspector, drones from outside, different cameras spread around the job site, and then they build a cloud point of the job site, and they build a kind of a 3D model from that cloud point, and then they compare it to the BIM model, the building information modeling of the building, and they compare between the real model and the plan model, and then they can see the differences. We can analyze the gaps, the differences between plan and reality, and they reflect these differences to the manager. It sounds simple, but it's not, believe me. It's a complex technology, challenging, and still, I think, still in the beginning. So one of the companies I mentioned before, the guys that are just raised $10 million, BuildDots, this is exactly what they are doing. Talented people came out of the technological units in the Israeli army and are doing that pretty well already, working with some UK contractors in order to prove the technology.
Hernán,
Yeah.
Con respecto a la pregunta de las cápsulas y de la protección de las personas. Nosotros dividimos a los trabajadores en cápsulas de hasta 10 personas y mantenemos el traslado de los trabajadores en esas mismas cápsulas, y durante el trabajo esas cápsulas se mantienen juntas. Lo mismo cuando tienen para descanso o para comer, ¿ok? Y tratamos de impedir de que se mezclen las cápsulas en el mismo sitio de trabajo. Con respecto a todo lo que es vestuarios y elementos de protección personal, antes que nada, todos les medimos las fiebres al principio del día. Ellos firman toda una declaración que no tiene ningún síntoma de COVID, y para mantener los vestuarios con protección también son usados en cápsulas todo el tiempo con elementos higiénicos. Parte de los trabajadores viven juntos, por ejemplo, los trabajadores del exterior, y también acá todo eso se mantiene en cápsula, tratando de evitar que todo eso se mezcle. Si quieren, tenemos todo un protocolo muy vamos a traducir y mandarles para que vean cómo nos manejamos en ese sentido.
Gracias.
I want to answer Ezequiel.
Yeah.
Ezequiel, about the human source union. Here in Israel, we make the union of the workers together with us. So we have a lot of meetings with them, and I think you can overcome the objection of the union of the workers by let them be a part of the initiative first. Secondly, there is the thing of I don't have the word, sorry. You know that there is the prestige of the worker, of the construction worker, because when he's doing very common job, okay, so mothers don't want that their sons go to work in construction. But when it is more high-tech, more technology, we can bring more workers for the construction field. So the prestige of the job is very high. So this is the second thing that we told the union, and the union are with us, that we are not object one another.
Thank you, Raul. Well, we are just having 5 more minutes, so maybe I will ask a last questions. We would have a lot, I think, but one that I was wondering, what's the role of the, Zachi mentioned the role of the Ministry of Defense. So beyond the issue of fostering innovation through funding startups and so on, what's the role of the public works demand to introduce this innovation?
Raul, do you want to answer that?
No, it's okay, it's okay.
I think that they have a big role in here, because public works infrastructure is a major sector in every country, but in Israel, because it's a young country, there's a lot of infrastructure constructed. There's a lot of defense projects since of the situation. And specifically now, speaking about COVID, we all know that, that infrastructure projects are the way to get out of recession. And a lot of budgets will go there. We know that, that what happens every time there's a big recession. So I think that's a great opportunity for technology, because they will need a lot of support with technology. Everybody wants to build quick and efficiently. So I think that's a big opportunity for us, for the industry, for the construction tech.
Raul, I don't know if you wanted to add something.
Generally, we as the Israeli Construction Association, we are working hard with the government. They are listening to us. They are listening to us because we are the person who are professional in our field. So we recommend the government to, in these days, in order to roll the demand, to make it, the demand make it bigger, the government must invest on projects that are give a lot of prosperity and growth. And this is the main thing, to make a growth of a project, to make more growth, and especially it is in the infrastructure, because to handle this crisis, the government must give money for the public to use it, to consume, in order to that the money will reach to all the businesses. So the way to do it is not to give money to people. The way to do it is to give more jobs, more work from the government, from also the private sector, and this is the way to give more fuel to this gas of machines that will make roll the economics. And this is the main thing. And through construction, this is a good idea, and the government in Israel knows this.
I want to add something. What you guys are probably not familiar is that Israel is a growing country. The population grows here very fast. Right now it's about 9 million people, and in 20-25 years it will be double. And Raul always said that we will have to build additional Israel, because the population will be double. And if you're going to make that the way you're doing right now with the same methods, our kids won't have places to live in. They won't have infrastructure. That's how I started. It's not nice to have. We've got to have it. We've got to have technology in order to make the to stand for that that demand. The demand is growing rapidly.
Thank you, Zachi. Well, from my place thanking you, all of you, for sharing your knowledge, your experience, for helping us to open and to expand our mindset and our ideas. I will just leave Ivan making the closing remarks to close the webinar. And well, again, thank you very much, and I hope that for the audience to have been a good experience. So keep in touch.
If
Ivan?
it's possible, before Ivan, one word, one last sentence, okay?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, Raul. Yeah.
I want to thank you, Ivan, and also Fernando, and also all the audience here that gave us the opportunity to share with you our thoughts and our contact this project. I hope that soon we can meet without computers, each other in Buenos Aires or in Tel Aviv, maybe both. So our hands are open to welcome you here in Israel. Of course, maybe we can come also to Buenos Aires to meet you. And last thing, I want to thank Veronica, who made the translation. I saw here in the Zoom. So thank you very much, Veronica. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Raúl, por tus palabras. Muchas gracias, Zaki. Bueno, la realidad es que para nosotros ha sido muy interesante ver la experiencia que ustedes vienen realizando. Nada más comentar en función de lo último que se estuvo hablando sobre el apoyo del gobierno justamente para este tipo de herramientas. Nosotros estamos hoy trabajando e iniciando un nuevo proceso en lo que se llamó un observatorio de obra pública, que dentro de los ejes que tenemos de trabajo tenemos el de transformación e innovación tecnológica, dentro del cual, por supuesto, lo que buscaremos es introducir toda nuestra experiencia y red de vínculos para lograr que no solamente nosotros como cámara empresaria de los empleadores, en este caso de la construcción, sino también el gobierno nacional pueda de alguna manera ver la importancia del uso de la tecnología, ¿no? Comprobarlo, como dice Zaki, lo vi, estuve ahí, bueno, todo lo que podamos acercar ese producto a quienes toman decisiones dentro del gobierno nacional, va a ser un esfuerzo que vamos a realizar de manera tal de que podamos evolucionar como industria y tener la mayor eficiencia y productividad posible. Nosotros acá tenemos una gran demanda ya, digamos, de vivienda, sobre todo insatisfecha, y que necesita justamente de que mejoremos nuestra productividad y bajemos los costos para poder hacer que cada vez más gente pueda acceder a un producto, ¿no?, de los que nosotros fabricamos. Así que para nosotros es invalorable el aporte que ustedes están haciendo, y desde ya nos comprometemos a encontrarnos en la primera ocasión posible y a seguir trabajando colaborativamente con la Cámara israelí en este caso y con CONTECH. Así que mil gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias a todos. Saludos desde México.
Bueno, muchas gracias, Cecilia. Simplemente entonces despedirnos de todos. La verdad que como cuando empezamos a pensar esto, que yo le escribí a Zachi, que fue Zachi en marzo, finales de marzo, principios de abril, cuando empezó lo del COVID, con esta idea, nada, un placer y un orgullo de haber logrado esto. Es parte de lo que la tecnología nos facilitó, que no solo Fernando y Iván hayan podido tener intercambio, sino que más de 150 personas que estuvieron hasta las 12, después bajamos, pero hasta las 12 hubo 150 personas participando, y como verán, de todo el país, porque estás saludando gente de Patagonia, de Entre Ríos, de distintas partes, incluso Chile acaban de mencionar, México. Nada, la verdad, un placer incluso haber participado, y agradecer nuevamente a todos. Nos estaremos viendo y que tengan un buen día y sigan bien de salud. Un abrazo a todos.
Muchas gracias. Chao.
Felicidades.